Hello, your Black World family. Shaquita Graham here, founder of AttackCodeWeb.com. I really needed to get on here as I was taking a look through some news articles and things today. I realized that, you know how you're watching a movie and it's like, did I see this movie before? Or you see a person, you're like, you look familiar. Did I see you before? And I'm looking at the current events that are happening today and they look so familiar. And let me show you what I'm talking about. Just bear with me because I wanted to bring up some facts and really kind of just show you guys what I'm seeing and see if you see the same thing. So I was looking at this article right here. And this is on truthout.org. It says media and the end of apartheid in South Africa. And it goes on to talk about the heinous, satanic, crazy, corrupt practices that the apartheid Afrikaans government deployed to shut the media down so that their atrocities would not come to light. And so let me just kind of bring up some of the things, and you can see the article here. Again, they have an excerpt from the book Kill the Messenger from, I don't know if I can say her last name correctly, Maria Armdian, okay? And so she talks about how in this book, it says, inside South Africa, the mass media were a battleground, mostly divided by language and ethnicity that overwhelmingly reflected the social situation. And so it goes on to say, I'm going to just kind of skip through some things. It says, for many years, much of the Afrikaans language media, particularly the South African Broadcasting Corporation, hid the ugly realities and upheld the apartheid system as natural and legitimate. Let's see here. Archbishop Desmond Tutu spoke and said that, speaking of my perspective as one who was disenfranchised, the Afrikaans and electronic media supported apartheid. They largely acted as mouthpieces of the ruling elite, hardly ever as watchdogs. Wow. That just seems so familiar right now. We have people who are supposed to be media journalists, like that's supposed to be like a real credential. They are upholding, or they seem to uphold and kind of downplay. They uphold things that are happening in our society that appear illegal and corrupt, and they downplay a lot of these activities, in my opinion. So that just reminds me of kind of what happened in apartheid. Some of the things that the article goes on to say is that during this situation where the ruling class apartheid media was hiding all of the things that were happening in South Africa, there sprung up other media, underground media or independent media in South Africa. And I'm going to kind of go through a little bit about them. One was called Radio Freedom. And Radio Freedom came on the air at one time and said, this government of slavery, this government of oppression, this apartheid monster must be removed from power and crushed by the people, declared the host. He said, never give up the freedom struggle. Okay. And then there was another publication that came out. I'm going to go in depth about The Guardian, but I want to, sorry, there's just so much in this scenario here. It was Johannesburg. Let me bring that one up. Oh, wow. The Johannesburg Star and the Johannesburg Times was another one that sprouted up. And so let me kind of just show you. I just put together like a synopsis of what was said about these how the government and how the police department tried to cover up atrocities. It's all in this article. And again, let me just share my screen. But at the same time, the article is very long. So I just boiled it down on some slides right here. So first of all, let's see, this is the article. And I'm pulling from this article, which is an excerpt from the book that Maria did called Kill the Messenger, as you can see right here. So basically, these are all the strategies that were used by the apartheid government to uphold human torture. So the media did these. So this is what the apartheid government and the media did together. The media excluded vital coverage of oppression. The media excluded vital coverage of white instigated violence. The media headlined Black instigated violence. And it denounced many anti-apartheid leaders, so people who were against apartheid and human torture. They said that these people were terrorists. I mean, wow, I'm looking at the news today and I'm looking at the climate today, and it just seems so similar. Also, the government clamped down on activists and journalists who tried to expose and denounce the injustices, right? So anybody who tried to bring to light the injustice that was going on in apartheid South Africa, the government clamped down on them. The police commissioner even responded at one point by outlawing ads or articles that promoted what they call banned organizations. Those organizations who tried to bring the injustices to light were banned organizations, and they outlawed any ads, any articles that promoted these justice seekers, these truth seekers, right? Now, does that remind you of anything? This just sounds just like this guy who filmed the killing and the execution and the strangling, choking of Eric Garner. This man was sentenced to 4 years in prison. Ramsey Orta. Wow. Okay. He's the only person on the scene of the killing that has actually been convicted of a crime and put in jail. The person who filmed the killing. Okay. Now you have the Alton Sterling thing. The man who posted the video of the killing, he was arrested. So he said that, okay, so let's see what they said. This is at, where is this information at? independent.co.uk. Chris Leday, who did not film the video of Mr. Sterling's death, but helped to upload it and share it, was detained the next day by military security while going through a routine checkpoint at Dobbins Air Reserve Base in Atlanta, where he worked. He has gone through this checkpoint 15 times, but military officers told him that he looked like a wanted person for assault and battery. He was told, and then he was told first of all, he was taken in handcuffs and legs shackled, taken to jail. And later he was told he was being arrested for failing to pay a traffic fine. These are his Facebook posts. I've been here 10 minutes already with my ID. I'm surrounded by cops, both military and city. And then finally, he spent 26 hours in jail. He had to pay $1,200 in fines or so. And then he says that he's safe and free. Thank you for your prayers and concerns. He said, this is how we need to stick together from here on out. If you get arrested, notify everyone you can for your own safety every step of the way. Cameras aren't enough. We need to use every outlet to diffuse this abuse and murder of our people. Wow. So then, going back to apartheid South Africa. Now, you have one of the independent papers that came out to bring balance to the media in apartheid South Africa is The Guardian. So from the day it opened its doors, there was actually a documentary about The Guardian. In the article that I showed you with the excerpt from Kill the Messenger, the book, it talks about The Guardian, and it says from the day it opened its doors in 1937, it faced peril, including charges of sedition and high treason. Charges for what? Reporting the news? Okay. Now, this one of the journalists for this paper exposed forced labor camps on which farm owners chained, whipped, beat, and released attack dogs on laborers. Wow. Chained, whipped, and beat, and released attack dogs. Wasn't an attack dog released on a black man and allowed to bite him in the groin area just recently? I don't even know if that came out on camera. Let's see here. They said she witnessed large welts and scars on whipped backs, shoulders, and arms of the worker. She uncovered the state's role as a recruiting force for bad farmers who cannot attract labor by normal means. So she was uncovering the government's role in these atrocities. I don't even want to talk about what happened to her. I'm going to just let you look up what happened to this lady. Her name is Ruth First. She was a journalist at The Guardian. Through their crusades, they convicted one farmer of 39 counts of assault and battery. Now, this seems like a low charge for beating farm workers with whips and pick handles. Now, because they exposed this, were they given some kind of medal for journalistic achievement? No. The Guardian was banned twice. Okay, it emerged again under the title of New Age, and it uncovered farm owners who bludgeoned laborers and used hoes like garden tools to hack workers' feet to prevent them from fleeing away from the farm. So they were in forced slavery, basically, in apartheid South Africa. Now, what happened as a result of them exposing this atrocity? The government raided the New Age paper and arrested its entire editorial staff. And the Minister of Justice confiscated every last copy of the paper except for one hidden copy. 55 of those people on that staff were placed in jail. They still continue to print this paper, though. And there were others. And I'm just going to go back because, again, sometimes we think that what we're seeing is new. We're surprised. We think, oh, it can't get any worse than this. Surely somebody's going to stop this. Surely, this can't be happening in America. So, again, I just want to highlight this and the real details, because sometimes we just kind of gloss over this stuff. So let me just bring up my little slides here. So apartheid media, which sounds a lot like media today that we're experiencing in the Black community. Apartheid media strategies to uphold human torture. The media excluded vital coverage of oppression. They excluded vital coverage of white instigated violence. I heard that a white man shot some police officers in a courthouse. I haven't seen that on the news, really. Okay. Media headlined Black instigated violence, and denounced many anti-apartheid leaders as terrorists. The government clamped down on activists and journalists who tried to expose and denounce the injustices, and the police commissioner outlawed ads or articles that promoted banned organizations. That reminds me of, I'm not going to put this on screen. Now, we have people going in the comments section of different journalists, independent journalists, saying, you helped inspire a cop killer, because certain alleged shooters of different police officers reportedly were following certain social media. Like, I follow like 500 social media personalities and outlets or whatever. Okay, so this person reportedly followed these people, and so now they're saying that this person or these different people have inspired a cop killer. Really? So because you are on the radio just saying different things, you have inspired people, but nobody is inspiring white supremacy or racism, right? We haven't found anybody being investigated and determined to inspire white supremacy or the execution of Black men. They're saying that the reported assassin of the cops, that he was being tweeted by certain people and that he was heavily influenced by certain people. And I know for a fact that the alleged assassin of the cops, Gavin Long, he did a very long video, very coherent, very clear-headed. And he said he is not affiliated with anybody. But now they're trying to say that Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization radicalizing people. This is like supposed to be from highly regarded news outlets. And as I'm sitting here reading the article about apartheid South Africa, it sounds the same, except I'm just in America. It's crazy. And then you have actual government officials like sticking by this narrative, saying that, let's see here. I'm just looking at some of these tweets, and I don't really want to really show all of the tweets, which I should, but you have people saying that, wow, this is so crazy. I'm sorry. Some of this stuff I'm just not even going to repeat. But regardless of the fact that there's zero evidence that anybody really, especially the cop killers, is associated with Black Lives Matter, every Black person that doesn't like white supremacy is associated with Black Lives Matter. And that's fine if that's in the comments of social media, I guess. But for it to be on mainstream news, again, it's reminding me of apartheid South Africa. And that's crazy in the US. Okay, let me go on a little bit more. All right, so then the government created laws, again, to silence, here, let me fix this because that's gonna drive me crazy. Okay. To silence people who actually, journalists who really felt that it was necessary to expose truth for a change. And I was gonna say not Nazi South Africa, but it's really like the same thing, right? Apartheid South Africa used laws such as the Prison Act, which outlawed criticizing any army or prison official without permission. Wow. That sounds like that whole anti-cop thing. Like, nobody can criticize public officials now. You can the only public official that you can criticize is President Barack Obama now. But I guess they felt the same way in apartheid South Africa, because they had a law called the Prison Act. And that's telling you something, right? So if you do this, you're going to prison. That's like, okay, which outlawed criticizing army or prison officials without permission. They also used police to threaten, raid, and serially prosecute any sources of some of these journalists for these independent papers. They used perjured evidence to convict journalists of the violation of the Prison Act. So what were some of the strategies used against apartheid? The apartheid government's plan to uphold human torture. Radio freedom, I spoke about that. They got on the radio and spoke truth. You know, they said never give up the freedom struggle. Johannesburg Star criticized the government by saying the government's criticized the government's pathetic faith in the power of machine guns to settle basic human problems. Wow. So basically what was happening is when people were protesting apartheid, they were being shot, they were being harassed and abused. Wow. Was this South Africa or America? And the thing is that, you know, the thing that does, I don't want to say gives me hope, but the thing that I'm encouraged by is that I've noticed that there were some activists in Africa who are recognizing what we're going through here in America, and they are speaking out. And that's what happened in apartheid South Africa. Because the independent newspapers and the independent press continued to share these stories, the stories got out. See, the government and these corrupt officials were trying to suppress all this information because they did not want anybody around the world to take note of what was happening. And interestingly enough, even people in the U.S. started to hear about this, and the U.S. government finally started to take action after they, you know, didn't say anything for a long time. But under Jimmy Carter's presidency, which is in this article that I referred to about Kill the Messenger, the book, helped to create embargoes against South Africa until they stopped that all of the killing and the different things they were doing to Black people in their own country. And, you know, again, the independent news let this information get out. So we should not allow anybody to silence independent news, because the corporations or whoever it is that allegedly owns all of the mainstream news outlets are obviously, you know, engaging in tactics of unethical journalism, I would say. It appears, allegedly. And we need independent journalism to get the story out about injustice. And as a result of the independent journalism that was done in South Africa to cover the torture and the atrocities that were happening in South Africa, people around the world started to see the truth. And there's still work to be done in that place in South Africa. And many argue that there's still an apartheid system that is just quietly being maintained. But at the same time, we cannot allow anybody to silence those who speak truth. You know, we have to stand behind and support those who speak truth. And because if not, you know, we can see ourselves being killed and nobody even knows what happened. Nobody, matter of fact, aside from not knowing what happened, but they will be told a lie about what happened. You know, if we didn't have that young man, Mr. Leday, I think his last name was Leday, who helped to make that video of Alton Sterling's execution go viral, we wouldn't have known what happened. There's so many reports of officers saying one thing happened, but and they didn't know there was a camera there, just like with Walter Scott. Then we find out something else happened. if it wasn't for Ray Orta showing us what happened with Eric Gardner, what would we have heard about that story? We need these independent reporters, and we should really, you know, take a note from history and see where this is going. Again, when I get that feeling that I've seen a movie before, it's like, I think I know what's about to happen. So I just showed you what happened in South Africa, apartheid South Africa. What if we were to look into what happened in Nazi Germany? How all of a sudden did people go from living their lives to being, you know, just removed from society and mass carted off in trains and trucks to ovens, gas chambers, and people in society did not care? How did this happen? And do you think it can happen again? All right, that's enough. This was like a special report because, again, it's just eerily similar. And I shudder at the thought that I'm living in a country that reminds me of the things that happened in apartheid South Africa or even Nazi Germany. Where are we going here? All right, guys, I love you. Your Black World. Thank you so much for viewing. Shaquita Graham here from AtecoWeb.com.